I have to say the thing my mom probably made the most was German chocolate cake, and she became very well known for it because it was incredibly delicious. Today I'm gonna be making my own variation of it, and you'll see that it is pretty simple because it's just chocolate cake layered with the pecan and coconut filling. So the first thing we're gonna do to get this recipe started is make our chocolate cake batter. Now this cake batter makes 3 8 or 9 inch layers. So I'm starting out with my brown sugar. This cake batter only uses brown sugar. It does not use granulated. And to our brown sugar, we're adding some totally softened, unsalted butter. 2 sticks or 1 cup. And honey, make sure it is softened. No hard butter. We don't want chunky bits. And a stand mixer is great for this because it makes a lot of batter, but I'm just gonna use my good old hand mixer and cream this for about 3 to 5 minutes until it's light and fluffy. And we're gonna add our eggs one at a time. You wanna add them one at a time in this cake batter just to make sure they each get fully incorporated. And we're gonna add our vanilla extract, along with 1/3 cups of sour cream. Sour cream has a great acidity to it that not only helps the texture of the cake, but it makes it really nice and rich. So you wanna make sure you use full fat sour cream. Honey, you're making a cake. Why are you gonna buy low fat ingredients? Come on, be real. So just blend that in till it's nice and smooth. 2 2/3 cups all-purpose flour, along with some baking soda and salt, tablespoon of baking soda, ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm adding a little bit of espresso powder to this because espresso really deepens the flavor of chocolate. So if you don't like coffee, don't worry, don't skip it. You'll be glad you incorporated it because it's not gonna taste like coffee at all. It's gonna taste really chocolatey. So just a teaspoon, it's not even that much. And then a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Just whisking that until beautifully combined. And then we're gonna go back to our batter base here, and we're gonna alternately add our dry mixture with 1 1/3 cups of very hot water. Does not need to be boiling, but it needs to at least be steaming. The reason you do this is because the water actually blooms the cocoa powder, meaning it kind of wakes up the flavor and intensifies it. So you definitely wanna make sure you're not skipping this step. Don't add cold water, make sure it is hot honey. So whenever I do this for cakes, I like to do it in thirds, starting and ending with the dry. So a little bit of dry, half of the liquid, more dry, the rest of the liquid, and then the rest of the dry. All right, this batter is gorgeous, honey. I cannot wait for this. Okay. Now, I find it's always best to have your cake pans ready. That's the first thing you do along with preheating your oven. So when the batter is done, you just get in the oven, you know the oven's at the right temperature and you're good to go. So I have 3 9-inch cake pans here. And the foolproof way of making sure your cakes will always turn out without sticking is grease with cooking spray, line with parchment, grease one more time. If you want to go old fashioned and use butter and flour, that's absolutely fine. And because I'm a little OCD, I'm actually gonna weigh these layers to make sure they're all exactly the same. Because when I assemble this cake, I want it to be really, really pretty with even layers. You don't have to do this, you can absolutely eyeball it. Yeah, so these are pretty darn close, so I'm gonna be happy with that. Just wanna make sure you move the pan around so that the batter gets nice and even. And to prevent any large air bubbles from forming, just give it a few love taps on the counter. And then these are gonna go into a 350 Fahrenheit oven for about 35 minutes until they spring back when lightly touched, or the telltale sign is stick a toothpick in that sucker. If it comes out clean, it's ready. So my cakes are in the oven. They still got about 10 minutes left. So we're gonna get this filling started. And the filling is what really makes German chocolate cake stand out. It's a cooked filling that is, you gotta stop. Oh my God. It's a cooked filling with coconut and pecans. So what I did first is I actually toasted my pecans in the oven because it really intensifies the flavor. And I have to say, if there's anything you wanna do to really elevate your desserts, anything that includes nuts in it, just toast them in the oven for like 10 minutes. And it's something that requires basically no extra effort, but will make everybody be like, holy crap, the flavor is so good. So toast your nuts, people. But I don't need those just yet. I'm just gonna turn this on. I'd say a medium heat is probably fine. So into this saucepan, we're gonna be adding some unsalted butter. 1 stick or ½ cup unsalted butter going in the pan. We're also gonna be adding some evaporated milk, 1 cup of that, 1 cup granulated sugar, and some egg yolks. We're adding the egg yolks early on before this gets hot because as they cook, they'll thicken. So we're just going to whisk all of this together. And you want to do this on a low heat after everything's added because we want to gradually heat this without cooking those egg yolks. So I will say it helps if everything's room temperature. The milk is room temperature, the butter is softened, and the egg yolks are room temperature as well. So I think this might be good to go. Best way to test it is to stick a spoon in there, and it's nice and thick. It coats the back of the spoon like that. Looks fantastic. And don't worry, if you think it looks thin, it will continue to thicken as it cools because you have to let it cool before you use it. We're going to turn our heat off, towel down so I don't do any damage to my nice little cutting board here. So off the heat, we're gonna add in our vanilla extract and those lovely chopped toasted pecans along with some shredded coconut as well. And just mix all that together. And this is our beautiful German chocolate filling. And we're gonna wanna let this cool at room temperature for at least 30 minutes. It will continue to thicken as it cools, so it needs to be room temperature before we try and decorate the cakes with it. So patience is a virtue here, and it'll be worth the wait. All right, it is the most exciting time of the day. It's time to assemble this cake. So good practice for cakes is let them cool in the pans for about 10 minutes, flip them onto cooling racks, peel off the parchment, and let them cool completely. So I'm gonna take my first layer of this absolutely beautiful chocolate cake and I'm gonna just place it flat down. I love this cake because you don't need to like break out any special equipment. You just pretty much make the cake, spoon the filling on, and that's it. It's so simple, which is why I love it. So onto this layer of cake, I'm just gonna spoon a nice little amount of our filling, and you can see it thickened up really nicely as it cooled. I'm not going to spread this all the way to the edges because once we sandwich these layers together, it'll squish it out a little bit. So we're gonna take our second layer of cake here, gently just put it on top. And then a little more filling on here. Our final layer, I'm gonna flip over so the top is nice and flat. And then I'm gonna pour the rest of this filling on top and just spread it around like this. And that right there, my friends, is a German chocolate cake. You don't need layers of frosting because this filling is so packed with a powerful punch of flavor. It's simple, but the flavors are so bold and it is absolutely delicious. So of course, the full written recipe for this is gonna be on my website with metrics included. You can find the link to my cookbook and the recipe in the description below, along with the links to my social media. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Leave me a thumbs up and some comments down below. Oh, yum. Oh my goodness. A little messy, but we can be messy sometimes. Till next time, this is Bake It with AJ. Oh my God, wow.